Hello everyone and welcome to week 6 of campCODE. This week we're going to be learning about events and using the broadcast block in order to make complex storylines. And this will come in handy in our adventure game so we can do different actions throughout the whole game. And events are used to make different things happen throughout your regularly planned step-by-step code. And this is usually triggered by an action. So events may or may not happen depending on if they're triggered or not. So, for example, I'm playing a platforming games like Super Mario or something, and I'm really good and I don't touch any of the bad guys throughout the whole game. So I never trigger the code used to either shrink my Mario or to lose a life. And so today we'll be learning about how to use and trigger events in our code today while we learn about terrestrial ecosystems. And also just keep in mind that we're going to be continuing this lesson on next week as well. So if you are coding along and have your own account, I would recommend saving your project so we can work on it again next week. So with that said, let's get started and move on to Scratch. We're going to sign in at the top right as per usual, and then afterwards we're going to click on that create button on the top left corner to get started. Alright, so I'm going to start off our project by naming our project first. I'm going to name it Lesson 6. And today I'm actually not going to be deleting our sprite because we are going to keep Scratch the Cat, where we're going to learn about ecosystems with Scratch the Cat. So I'm going to move Scratch to the left hand side over here, and I'm going to start off by choosing our stage. So I'm going to choose a backdrop on the bottom right, and we're going to start off with Scratch in his bedroom. So I'm going to choose one of these 3 bedrooms. I'm going to choose maybe bedroom 1. So we can start off Scratch in his bedroom, and we're going to have Scratch visit all of the different ecosystems. So we're going to have 4 different ecosystems. We're going to have a forest, grassland, a desert, and a tundra. But we're going to start off at home. So what we want Scratch to do is, first, we're going to go to our event blocks and grab that when green flag is clicked block so we can start coding from the very beginning. Next, I'm going to code for his current position. So in our motion blocks on the left, I'm going to make sure he's where I want him. So I want him on the left-hand side, somewhere in the middle of the screen. And that is X is -127, Y is -14. And I'm going to drag that go to block underneath that there. All right, now that we've coded for the initial position, we're going to choose where he's going to go first. And I'm going to have him go to a forest first. So let's get the stage prepared. So on the bottom right, I'm going to choose a backdrop. We're going to click on the Outdoors tab. And we're going to choose the forest background. So now we can see that he's been put into the forest. And what we're going to do is, first we're going to code for how he's going to get there. So the first thing I want Scratch to do is I want Scratch to introduce himself. So we're going to do that by going into the look blocks, grabbing that say hello for 2-second blocks, and we're going to change the hello to say, hello, I'm Scratch the Cat. So hello, I'm Scratch the Cat, exclamation mark, and we're going to have him keep it saying it for maybe around 3 seconds. And then we're going to have him say something else. So I'm going to grab that say block for 2 seconds again. And we're going to change the hello to, I can't wait to start my eco adventure. Where should I go? So let's put that in. I can't wait to start my eco adventure. Exclamation mark. Where should I go? Question mark. And we're going to have him say it for 4 seconds. And now we're going to have an input. So in the sensing blocks, we're going to ask a question and we're going to ask where we want to go. So I'm going to drag that ask and wait block, and I'm going to change the question to, tell me where I should go. So tell me where I should go. And we're going to give all the options that we're going to go to. So I mentioned before, we're going to 4 different ecosystems. So one of them's the forest, one of them's the grassland, next is a desert, and last is a tundra. And we're going to learn about facts about each of those ecosystems. So I'm going to give all the options so that when we ask the question, the person who's playing the game or who is looking at our Scratch project is able to know what they can put in to have a event happen. So let's put down forest, comma, grassland, comma, desert, comma, or tundra, question mark, and wait for the answer. So in this case, we want to code for the backdrop to change, and also we're going to have an animal from each of these places pop up when you answer different things to give you a fact about each of these ecosystems. So we need to code for the stage in order to have it start off at the house. So we're going to click on the actual stage area here on the right bottom. We're going to get the coding area for the actual stage or the backdrop. And we're going to go to the event blocks and code for when the green flag is clicked. And when the green flag is clicked, we want it to go to the bedroom backdrop. So I'm going to go into the look blocks. I'm going to switch the backdrop to bedroom 1 and drag that block in there. And so when I click on the green flag, we'll see Scratch says, "Hello, I'm Scratch the cat. I can't wait to start my eco adventure. Where should I go?" And then tell me where I should go, the forest, grassland, desert, or tundra. And so now I want to make it so that when I type in the first one, forest, that it will change the backdrop to the forest backdrop. And how I code for that is by going to my first sprite here. I want to change it to the forest backdrop if they choose forest. So if the answer equals forest. So we do that with an if statement. And we're going to go into our control blocks, grab our simple if statement, and then we're going to have to fill in the condition, the criteria. So we're going to use an operator, that equals operator we've used previously, to put in there. And we're going to make it so that if the answer is equal to forest, and the answer block is again in the sensing blocks right underneath that question block we used. So this one right here. So if the answer is equal to forest, then we're going to, first of all, we're going to switch over to the forest backdrop. And we do that by going into the look blocks. And we're going to switch backdrop to forest, which is already at. And we're going to put that inside of our if statement. Next, I want to make it so that a new sprite pops up, something that lives in the forest. So let's go choose that. So on the bottom right, we're going to choose a sprite. We're going to choose animals. And actually, we're going to use this bear. So bears live in forests. I'm going to click on that bear. And I'm going to have the bear, first of all, let's go switch to our forest backdrop. Just click on the stage, click on the backdrops tab up here so that we know what it'll look like, and click on the forest so we can manually change it for now without having to change it in our code, just so we can position it properly where we want it. So currently this bear is facing the wrong way to talk to Scratch. So we're gonna have to flip him from left to right. And if you remember how we did that before, we had to use, first of all, let's code for his event. We're going to do it when the green flag is clicked. So actually, when the green flag is clicked, we don't want to see the bear because at the very beginning, we're in the bedroom of Scratch, right? So we don't want the bear to be in there with it until it hits the forest. And we're going to be actually using the broadcast block to make him show up when it switches over to this new forest backdrop. But for now, we're going to say when the green flag is clicked, we want it to hide. So we're going to go into the look blocks. We're going to hide. And also remember, when you use a hide block, you always want to use a show block. So we're going to grab that show block and put it beside so we have it ready for our code for when it switches over to the forest backdrop. So how do we code for our bear to flip from left facing right to facing left? And how we do that is we're going to go to our motion blocks. We're going to grab that block that says set rotation style to left and right. We're going to put it underneath the show block, and then we're going to grab the point in direction block right over here, and we're going to point in the direction of -90, so it's facing this way and not this way over here. So to start our animation from the very beginning, to test out our switch backdrop over here, we're going to push on the stop and then the green flag. So we're starting from the very beginning in Scratch's room. He's excited to go on his eco adventure and asking us where he should go, and we're going to type in forest. And so now it switches over to the forest backdrop. Next, I want to broadcast an event, and this event I'm going to call forest. And when I broadcast this event, I want the bear to hear the broadcast and react to it. So how I do this is there's a block in the event blocks. If you scroll down to the bottom over here, there's a block that says broadcast message 1. And when you click on the drop down for message 1, you can create a new message. So I'm going to click on new message, and I wanted to broadcast the message of forest. So I'm going to name my message forest and click OK. So now that I have a broadcast called forest, and I want it to happen right after my backdrop switches inside of this if statement, so that if I answer forest to Scratch the Cat's question, it'll switch the backdrop over to forest and also broadcast this forest message. Next, when I broadcast this message, I want this bear to show up. So what I need to do is I need to grab this block that says when I receive forest, that's also in the event blocks right over here. And I'm going to put that on top of my code that I just coded for previously, so that when I receive that forest message, I'm going to show up and flip over to the left-hand side. So I'm going to click on this actual code to preview it. You can see it show up. And I also forgot to put in my motion block to set the position. So I'm also going to grab that block that says go to, and it's currently at X97, Y17. So now for our whole animation, we have the introduction. He can't wait to start his eco adventure and asking us where it should go. So we only coded for the forest so far, so we're going to say forest, and we're going to go to the forest, and we'll see this bear here. All right, now we're going to have this bear tell us a little bit about the forest. So we're going to go into our look blocks. We're going to grab that say hello for 2-second blocks, and we're going to change that hello to say, hello, welcome to the forest. There are different types of forests depending on their climate. This is a temperate forest. So again, I'm going to say, hello, welcome to the forest. There are different types of forests depending on their climate. This is a temperate forest. And because that's quite a long sentence over here, we're going to have him say it for 6 seconds instead of 2. Next, we're going to have him say one more thing. We're going to grab that say block again, and we're going to have him say, there are also tropical and boreal forests. Thanks for visiting. So let's type that in to replace our hello. So there are also tropical and boreal forests. Thanks for visiting! Exclamation mark. And we're going to have him say that for 4 seconds instead of 2. And so now let's test this out. We can test our code just by clicking on the very top code over here of when I receive forest. So you can see him saying, hello, welcome to the forest. And then this is a temperate forest. And also that there are different types of forests, and thanks for visiting. So that is the extent of what we're learning about forests today. So now that Scratch the Cat has learnt about the forest, we wanted to have code saying, where should we go next, happen. So what we need to do, we're going to go to Scratch the Cat. We're going to have him say, first of all, going to go to the event blocks so that when we receive the forest broadcast, we're going to grab that block again. When we receive that message, we're going to, first of all, wait the amount of seconds that it takes for the bear to finish talking, which was in total around 10 seconds. So we're going to get that control block to wait 10 seconds. We're going to say, wow, I learned a lot. And then we're going to say, where should I go next? So I'm going to grab that say hello block. We're going to have Scratch the Cat say, wow, I learned a lot, exclamation mark, where should I go next? And then I want to repeat the same ask block as I had up here. So I can either duplicate this block, or we learned also before about how to use functions in order to repeat code in different places. And in this case, we're actually going to be using this code for asking where we should go quite a few times later on, because we're going to ask it every time we receive different, we're going to go to different ecosystems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make a function, and I'm going to do that by going to my blocks. I'm going to make a block, and I'm going to call this block, where should I go? Because then you'll know that this block is used to ask where he should go. So let's type that in, where should I go? And I'll add even a question mark. Click OK. And I'm going to define that block by this whole part right here that says ask, tell me where I should go, forest, grassland, desert, or tundra. And then if the answer is forest, then I do this. And I'm going to add more onto this in order to make it react to all of the different ecosystems we're going to go to. And because I want to use this function over here in multiple areas, I'm going to grab my block that I just made, and I'm going to put it in the areas I want to use it. So I'm going to want to use it at the very beginning. So I'm going to put it underneath where I just took it from. So when the green flag is clicked, I'm going to go to my position, introduce Scratch the Cat, say that he can't wait to start his eco adventure, and then ask where should I go. Next, I'm going to put it also underneath this area here, so that when I receive that forest message, then I'm going to wait 10 seconds for the bear to talk. Then I'm going to say, wow, I sure learned a lot, and then ask where he should go. Next, we're going to code for what we are going to do and say when we go to a grassland. So in this where should I go function that I just made, I'm going to grab my next if statement. So I'm going to go to the control blocks, grab that simple if statement. In this case, if the answer is equal to grassland, then I want to broadcast a grassland message and also switch the backdrop to a grassland backdrop. So we first have to get a grassland backdrop. So on the bottom right, we're going to choose another backdrop, and we're going to choose a grassland. So we're going to click on the outdoors. Going to scroll down a little bit until we find something nice and grasslandy, and we're going to actually choose this savanna background. So I'm going to click on the savanna, and this is where our next ecosystem is going to be. So let's complete our if statement. I'm going to grab my operator to code for the condition. I'm going to grab that equals operator, and this time it's going to be the answer is equal to grassland. I'm going to grab my answer block from the sensing blocks on the left, right here. And I want to switch the backdrop to this new savanna backdrop that I just put in. So I'm going to go to the look blocks, grab that switch backdrop to, and I'm going to click on the drop down menu to change it to the savanna before I drag it into my code inside of the if statement. And I'm going to go to my event blocks next and broadcast a new message, which I'm going to create right now. And it's going to be grassland. So I'm going to grab that broadcast grassland block and put it inside of our second if statement. Now that we have this new second ecosystem, I want to make sure that when I push on this green flag and I go to grassland, that it will switch over to my new backdrop. And also considering that it asked me where I should go, even though I moved all of my code here over to this new function, it looks like it worked out pretty well. So I'm also going to test out from the very beginning, when we go to our forest, how it transitions with this as well. So let's go to the forest again. We have our bear telling us about the different kinds of forests. And Scratch is waiting 10 seconds for it to finish talking. And then he says, wow, I learned a lot. Where should I go next? And this time we want to go to the grassland. Oh, and you notice that our bear is still here, and that's because we forgot to hide him again at the end of his code. So let's go back to our bear, and we're going to grab a hide block in our looks area. I'm going to put it at the very bottom so that after he finishes talking about the tropical or the temperate forest that he lives in, he's going to disappear because we don't want him in our next ecosystem. So now we have a savanna. So I'm going to click on this first of all, make sure it runs through the code, and at the end he disappears. So we can start coding for our next animal. And our next animal, when we choose a sprite on the bottom right, is going to be a lion in the African savanna grassland. So I'm going to click on the animals. I'm going to scroll down to the lion, wherever it is, right over here. I'm going to click on that, and we're going to move him to around where that bear was. And you'll notice the lion also has the issue of facing the right hand side instead of the left to talk to Scratch. So we're going to have to do that same thing we did with the bear. First, we're going to code for when the green flag is clicked. We have to make sure that when the green flag is clicked, this lion is hiding until it receives that grasslands message from the broadcasting block. So we're going to go to the look blocks. We're going to grab that hide block and also grab that show block because we'll need it for when the message is broadcasted. So next we're going to go to the event blocks, and we're going to code for when we receive the message of grassland. So make sure to drop down and click on the grassland message instead of the forest message. And when we receive the grassland message, we want the lion to show up, first of all, in his current position. So we're going to grab that motion block to go to x76, y -5. Then we're going to have it point in the -90 direction. But first we have to set the rotation style for this sprite to go left and right. So when we point in direction -90, it won't flip upside down. So let's test all of this out. We're going to click on the green flag so that Scratch the Cat starts off at home again. After, when he asks us where he should go, we're going to have him go to the grassland. And we'll see that the lion has just showed up right when the grassland message is broadcasted. Next, we're going to have a few facts about the grassland area, the savanna that he's in. So we're going to go to the look blocks, grab that say hello for 2 second block, and this time the first thing he's going to say is, welcome to the savannah. These are the grasslands in Africa. This ecosystem is home to grass grazing animals and the predators that eat them, like me. So let's start. That's a long sentence, so let's start off again. So first is welcome to the savannah. Exclamation mark. These are the grasslands in Africa. So these are the grasslands in Africa. Next, this ecosystem is home to grass grazing animals and the predators that eat them, like me. So next is this ecosystem is home to grass grazing animals and the predators that eat them, like me, exclamation mark. And if you do want to have these exact phrases and how I punctuated them and everything, I do have the script available on the actual project page. So make sure to check out the link included in the description to check out my project page. And this one is just labeled Scratch Lesson 6. And I'm going to change, because this is such a long sentence, instead of 2 seconds, I'm going to have it go on for 7 seconds. So we have a bit of time to read it. And sometimes you'll have to change these numbers just because some people read faster and some people read slower, right? Next, we're going to say one more thing at the very bottom. So we're going to grab the say hello for 2 second block again, and we're going to change it to say, time to look for my next prey. So time to look for my next prey, ... And we're going to have them say it for 3 seconds. And remember, after we have him finish talking, just like with the bear, we want it to disappear so he won't appear in our next ecosystem that we go to. So I'm going to grab that hide block while we're in the look blocks on the left hand side, and I'm going to put that at the very bottom of our code of when we receive that grassland message. Next, we're going to code for what the Scratch the Cat is going to say after this. So I'm going to click on Scratch the Cat. I'm going to grab my event block of when I receive the grassland message. And you'll see that I have quite a bit of code, so it gets a little bit messy sometimes, but as long as you can see everything, you should organize it accordingly. I'm going to organize all of my code for when I receive the different messages all together so that I know all of my code for that is in one bundle. So when I receive the grassland message, I'm going to wait around 10 seconds because we added up how long the lion talks for. He talks for 10 seconds, and so will the rest of the animals actually. So we're going to wait 10 seconds. I'm going to say, wow, I sure learned a lot. Where should I go next? And then I'm going to run that where should I go function again so that we ask where we should go next. So this basically is repeating all of this block over here. So I'm going to right click, duplicate, and put that into that code as well. And I'm going to actually change how long he says, wow, I learned a lot, where should I go next? I'm going to change that to 4 seconds so we actually have time to read it. And so you can also see how it would be a good idea to make a new function so that says wait 10 seconds, say wow, I learned a lot, where should I go next, and then run that other function, where should I go. So I'm actually going to do that today because we're going to learn how to do functions within functions. So we're going to make a block by going to my blocks. We're going to click make a block, and we're going to make this block called where to next. And click OK. And we're going to define this function by having the where to next block do all of these things here. So I'm going to wait 10 seconds, say, wow, I learned a lot, where should I go next? And then run that code that says, where should I go? So all of this code that we have so far over on the right hand side here. And so I want this new code, where to next, to happen when I receive the forest message, and also when I receive the grassland message. So I'm going to get rid of all of this. That's a duplicate of this up here. and put in the where to next so that it's much cleaner to look at and there's much less code, because this whole part here will be repeating only one time instead of 2 times or 4 times when we finish all of our ecosystems. So let's test it out from the beginning. So I'm Scratch the Cat. Can't wait to start my adventure. Where should I go? And so we've already done forests, so let's go to forest first. And we're learning about the forest from the bear over here, about the different kinds of forests. And he's going to disappear. Scratch is going to say, wow, I sure learned a lot, and then ask where he should go next. And this time we're going to go to the grassland. And so we go to the savanna, the African grassland. So we're here with the lion talking about the grassland. He leaves to go catch his prey, and then Scratch will ask where to go to next. And next we're going to go to the desert. So I'm going to stop my preview. I'm going to go up to my where should I go function over here, and I'm going to go to the desert next. So I'm going to grab my control block, grab that if statement, put it on the bottom. And this time, if the answer is equal to desert, we're going to switch the backdrop to a desert backdrop, and we're going to broadcast a message called desert. So let's do that first by making our operator grab our answer block from the sensing blocks and changing that to desert. So we're going to switch our backdrop over to desert. So we're going to have to find a desert backdrop first. So on the bottom right in the stages area, we're going to choose a backdrop, click on the outdoors tab, and then we're going to scroll. Let's search for one. There's our desert. So I searched for a different backdrop, and I'm going to choose this desert one that popped up. And so now Scratch the Cat is in the desert. So we can now choose the option to switch the backdrop to this new desert backdrop and put that into our code. And I'm going to make a new broadcast message. So I'm going to go to the event blocks. We're going to broadcast a new message called desert, and drag that block inside of our if statement. Next, we're going to have an animal from the desert pop up when we broadcast that new desert message in order to tell us all about the desert. So I'm going to choose a sprite. We're going to go to the animals area here, and we're going to choose something that lives in the desert. And there are actually hares that live in the desert. There are desert hares. So we're going to move this bunny hare to over here. Grab that event block, both the when the green flag is clicked block and also that when I receive the desert message block over here. And I'm going to first go to the look blocks, make sure it's hidden at the very beginning of the project. So when the green flag is clicked, I hide. And when I receive that desert message, I show. And I'm going to show in this one area that I just put them in. So the positioning block, go to X 53, Y -11. And I'm also going to have this hare also turn around and face Scratch the Cat. So we're going to do that with the set rotation style to left right block first. So I set the rotation style, and then we're going to point it in the direction of -90, like so. And I'm going to click on this block, this whole chain of code to have it preview. So it looks like it turned it around to the left now, and now we can put in our facts about the desert. So we're going to go to the look blocks so so that the bunny can say something about the desert. And we're going to say, welcome to the desert. It's very hot and dry, so animals that live here have adapted to surviving with very little water. So let's put that in. Welcome to the desert, exclamation mark. it's very hot and dry, comma, so animals that live here have adapted to surviving with very little water. And I'm going to change that from 2 seconds to something longer, like 6 seconds. And then we're going to have the bunny say one more thing. And we're going to have it say, "The days are hot, but the nights are cold. I hope you brought a jacket." So let's put that in. The days are hot, but the nights are cold. I hope you brought a jacket! Exclamation mark. And I'm gonna have it say it for 4 seconds. And after he tells us all about the desert, we're gonna have it hide. So we're gonna grab that hide block and put it at the end of our code there. Next, we're gonna have Scratch the cat react to this information. So we're gonna click on Scratch again. We're going to go to our area where we coded for all of the reactions so far, so right down here, so that in the event blocks, when I receive the desert message, I'm going to run my code for where to next. So in my blocks, I'm going to grab that where to next block, so that starting from the beginning again, he introduces himself, can't wait to start his eco-adventure. And now let's go directly to the desert because we know the other code works already. We see the bunny explaining how hot it is in the desert and that he should have brought a jacket for the nighttime. And then we'll run the code of where we're going to next. And the final place we're going to go, the last terrestrial ecosystem that we're going to visit today, is going to be the tundra. So let's go to the tundra. First, we'll have to add into our where should I go function. We're going to add the if statement of if my answer is equal to tundra. So let's put in the operator to set the condition. So if my answer from the sensing blocks is equal to the last one, which is tundra, then I'm going to switch my backdrop over to a new tundra backdrop, and I'm going to broadcast a new message called tundra. So this is getting a little repetitive, but it's good to practice this kind of thing over and over again. So let's go to our backdrops to choose a backdrop on the bottom right. And we're actually going to choose this very first one here, which is Arctic, because this is the Arctic tundra. And in the Arctic, we're going to find polar bears, so that's actually going to be our animal. But let's code for this backdrop change first. So in the looks blocks, we're going to switch the backdrop to this Arctic. And then we're going to broadcast in the event blocks a new message that we're going to call tundra, and bring this block into our if statement. Next, we're going to choose our sprite, and I mentioned that we're doing a polar bear for the Arctic tundra. So we're going to go to the animals category, scroll down a little bit, and here is a polar bear down here. All right, so I want this polar bear across from Scratch the Cat. I'm going to grab my event blocks so that when the green flag is clicked, he's going to hide. And then when he receives the tundra message, that he'll show up again, and then he'll flip around because he's facing the wrong way, just like the other animals. So let's first go into the look blocks. We're going to hide when the green flag is clicked, and we're going to show when the tundra message is received. We're going to code for the starting position. So go to X 99, Y -12 when he receives that tundra message. We're going to set the rotation style to left and right so that he flips over to the left when we position in the direction of -90, like so. Next, we're going to have him tell us about the Arctic tundra. So in the look blocks, we're going to say hello for 2 seconds, and we're going to change that message to say, hello, welcome to the Arctic tundra. Tundras are frozen most of the year and get little rainfall. So let's put that in. I guess I could have left that initial hello, and then we'll say welcome to the Arctic tundra. Tundras are frozen most of the year and get little rainfall. And we're going to have him say that for 7 seconds instead of 2. Next, we're going to have him say something else. So we're going to grab that same block and change it to say, watch your feet or you'll slip on the ice. So let's put that in. Watch your feet or you'll slip on the ice. Exclamation mark. And we're going to have him say it for 3 seconds. And after he says all this information, just like all of the other sprites and animals, we're going to have him hide, so that we can grab that hide block, put it at the bottom of our code. And now we have to code for the response that Scratch gives him. So we're going to go to Scratch's code here, go to the area where we coded for all of the reactions over here to the left, and grab our event block of when we receive the tundra message. We're going to ask where we want to go to next. So under my blocks, we're going to grab that where to next block. All right, so this is how far we're going to go today. So starting from the very beginning, when we push on this green flag, we're going to have him be able to go to 4 different terrestrial ecosystems. So that's an ecosystem on land. So forest, grassland, desert, or tundra. And if we say tundra immediately, we're going to go directly to the Arctic tundra and learn about that. And basically, you can go to any of these places throughout any part of your game. So whenever you type in where you want to go, that will trigger the event that we have just made. And we can go to any one of them from any one of the other ones. So I can go to the tundra from the forest. I can go to it from the grasslands. It gives a lot of options to your adventure game. So thanks for joining me today. There will not be any more advanced lessons starting from this point on, because we're going to be getting into quite complex code to start off with. So I'll see you all next week. We're going to be continuing on our eco adventure, and next time we're going to go into the sea or the water. So I'll see you all next week. Bye.